Hello, wine drinking people. Time for more of what I've had to drink yesterday. Our good friend Alex Gambal recently in town here for the South Beach Food and Wine Festival. And, we always get a little peripheral, from this. A couple producers that are in town and want to do another event. And this filled up our Saturday night spot here. And we don't do a lot of events on Saturday night. I got to have at least a night to go out, with the wife and party. And, she cooked an incredible meal. The Poche House of Riverfish, the beef bourguignon, and the Apois cheeseburgers. Absolutely fantastic. A good time was had by all. We had a table set up out in the courtyard, the kind of picnic style. And Alex was late, of course, coming from Miami. That's what happens. But a good time was still had by all. And he got to, meet a lot of his fans. And we've sent a lot of people to see Alex. It's nice to send someone to France, to Burgundy, and to someone that speaks English, because Alex is from here. He's from the D.C. area and moved to Burgundy in the early 90s to work for Becky Wasserman, the trailblazing importer, and then fell in love with it, moved his family there, started his own Negociant label. And I've been lucky enough to stay with him a couple times there for the Grand Jour de Bourgogne, a big tasting they do every other year in late March. And it's always nice to get Alex's notes. He makes some of the most comprehensive notes about the harvest of anybody. I always include them on his offering. And what the hell, we'll put them on here today just for you. 2012, to me, an outstanding vintage, one that's got a lot of ripe, seductive fruit to it right now. And we decanter these wines at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That's right, decantering both white and red Burgundy. And I have to say, it really helped open these wines up. I think the wines we opened up in addition to these weren't nearly as forward and drinkable. Anyways, I started out tasting the reds, the Bourgogne, Cuvee, Deux, Papis, and he said in 2012 he added some village wines to this, as usual. And this is your calling card, the entry-level wine in your portfolio if you're a small producer. Should exceed your customers' expectations, as this wine does. Some lovely light earth and minty notes to the red berry fruit here. Smooth and silky on the tongue, a nice touch of that spice and earth with wonderful balance and freshness. The quintessential example of Bourgogne Pinot Noir. Very good stuff. The Chory Le Bon, a little bit of smoke and truffle here on the nose, some earthy notes, a leatheriness to the wild strawberry and raspberry fruit, bright and zesty on the tongue with some tannins here, but a nice amount of spice, good grip. This wine needs a little bit of time, but excellent juice. I really like the Chory, as the Savigny Le Bon. Good amount of brown spice and floral notes there, some raw steak notes of the red cherry fruit, tangy red berry fruit on the tongue with a nice hint of spice box, floral notes, and some tannins at the end. Excellent juice, as was the Beaune Graves. Actually, the Beaune Graves was most excellent. This was one of my favorite wines on the nose. Just had this luscious, unctuous cherry, liqueur-like fruit. Some nice gravelly and fresh earthy notes to me. Premier Cru Beaune, one of the best values in Burgundy. There's no Grand Crus in Beaune, but there's about 50 Premier Crus, and this Graves, one of the most famous. Really smooth and velvety on the tongue. This one's got a good amount of spice and floral notes to the finish. Like I said, most excellent juice. I think it's the best I've ever liked, is Beaune Graves. The Chambolle-Musigny, one of my favorite villages. Les Charmes, also Premier Cru. This wine had a very pretty nose. Chambolle, to me, is one of the prettiest villages in Burgundy. Fresh flowers, earthy, truffle, minty notes to the strawberry and raspberry fruit. Really nice, smooth and silky notes on the tongue. Smooth, round tannins, bright, fresh berry fruit, and that lovely earth and spice nuance. Lighter in color, maybe lighter in body, but has all the spice and nuance. To me, Chambolle-Musigny, one of my favorite villages. Excellent juice. The Gevrey Chambertin, like Gevrey, much bigger, and this wine's got some nice dark spice, dark plum, and dark cherry fruit, black truffle, some tobacco notes. A big and chewy wine on the tongue with some tannins here at the end, but plenty of dark berry and plum fruit to match. Dark spices there. Excellent juice. Von Romanee, also one of my favorite villages. I don't know how many times I'm going to say that here today, but this wine's got a good amount of exotic spice on the nose, some mint, some red cherry fruit, and a lovely array of succulent red berry fruit on the tongue. Lovely concentration, lovely velvety, smooth, silky texture, and a lot of pretty floral notes and spice there on the finish. Excellent juice. All right, we had a little leftover 2005 Bourgogne Prestige. This was a vintage that was so good, Alex deemed it necessary to make two entry-level whites, the Bourgogne Prestige, the better of the two, and he found some sitting around in his cellar several years back, and I bought them all. And let me tell you, right now, these wines are drinking beautiful. This wine is drinking beautifully. A lot of people love this wine. Had a little bit of that caramely character to it that you get from older Burgundies, but still had some nice green apple and lemon citrus fruit, some light chalky notes, and a nice texture on the tongue, a nice weight. This wine had still bright acidity. Like I said, a little that caramely character coming through at the end, but lovely freshness and balance still. Very good juice. We sold almost everything we have. We may still have a few bottles of that 05 Bourgogne, but if you like an older vintage white Burgundy, a great little value at 25 bucks. The St. Aubin Premier Cru d'Altochan. This wine, always an incredible crowd pleaser. At a Premier Cru, we probably should have served it after the Chassagne and Puligny, as those were only village wines. But a lot of nice, pretty white flowers here. White peach and Asian pear fruit. A hint of freshly buttered popcorn. Really pretty bouquet. That juicy tree fruit showing on the tongue with a nice amount of lightly toasted oak spice. The pretty floral notes and a nice zesty finish. Always a crowd pleaser and a great value for like 45 bucks, under 50 bucks. Hard to find Premier Cru top-level village wine like Chassagne and Puligny, which have gotten very expensive. The 2012 Chassagne, a bit more forward than the Puligny. The Puligny, to me, is a village that always needs a little bit more time. Chassagne's always a little showier. This wine, nice, rich, tropical fruits, peaches, apples, a hint of creme brulee, vanilla bean spice here. Very forward and drinkable right now. The Puligny, a little more on the lemon citrusy side. Lemon drop candy, some wet stone, some nice lightly toasted oak spice here. Bright and zesty on the tongue. Still a bit tightly wound, but all the right things in the right proportion here. Excellent juice. The Chassagne Premier Cru, a really pronounced minerally note to the nose here. A flinty note quality. The lemon drop and green apple candy, some creme flan and vanilla beans hints there, and really nice richness, fairly open, really rich and creamy on the tongue with a long layered finish, that flinty note and minerality coming through on the finish. This wine needs a little time, but has everything in proportion. Excellent juice. The Corton Charlemagne onto the Grand Cru, really rich here. These Grand Crus are definitely a level up. Once we got to the Grand Cru section, people went, now you have our attention. And of course, the bottle's emptied very quickly. This wine really rich and concentrated, green apple, lemon blossom, and smooth and creamy on the tongue. You really notice the minerality in these wines, the concentration, a level up in the Grand Cru, a long layered finish, most excellent juice. This wine needs a little bit of time, as does the Batard, which had a stunning bouquet here, and kind of wet rock minerality, buttered popcorn notes of honeysuckle flowers, creme brulee, even bigger on the second day. This wine really rich and layered on the tongue. Lovely creamy texture, that ripe tree fruit showing all the way to the finish, and just leaves your mouth watering for a second glass and a long finish. This wine needs a little time. Killer juice. That's right, we got a killer rating here for one of Alex's wines. And then also the 2004 Corton Charlemagne that was brought in at brown bag. That wine was killer, just incredibly rich and honeyed. This wine had a toffee and vanilla lemon meringue pie kind of note to the nose, and on the palate, just incredible richness, creamy, lots of fruit. This wine seemed like it could last another decade in your cellar. A very long and layered finish. There you go, 2 killer wines for Alex, and a lot of most excellent juice here on this evening. That's what we had to drink with our friend Alex Gambal. I'm your host, Andrew Lampasoni, signing off for the Wine Watch, saying remember, always drink the good stuff first.